But as Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath at the RNC,
headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath.
Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough.
Trump has left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies.
As part of the, quote, MAGA drive to take over Maricopa County. And the headline refers to it as an impending bloodbath.
Columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
2018 midterms, you can bet that they 100% are fearing a slaughter. In fact, the word bloodbath and massacre come up frequently.
The Republican Party will be destroyed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Meanwhile,
we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
So he says his bloodbath comment was referring to the auto industry. Now, I don't know if that's how y'all heard it, but that's not how it sounded to me. But
So no, we're not taking it out of context because the context is his history and his life. So I want to say to my, Latino friends, some of them who might be thinking of voting for Trump, when Trump talks about poisoning the blood of America, and he's talking about migrants. When he refers to them as animals, and he's talking about migrants. When he's referring to them as not people, as invaders. Let me tell you, people who hate folks like that, they're not going to stop and ask you if you have a U.S. citizenship or a U.S. passport. They're going to shoot first and then ask questions. So I think he's putting a target on all of our backs.
He's saying the quiet part out loud. If I am not elected, we are going to see January 6th again. And I think we need to be on guard to make sure that we preserve our democracy so that our country looks the way that it should look, like all of us. It's a diverse country. That's what America was built upon.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So all morning, the mainstream liberal media has been melting down, boohoo, and crying over the new hoax that is being committed against former President Trump, which is the bloodbath hoax, okay? Because the mainstream liberal media for years has been using the term bloodbath to describe an economic disaster or when something bad is going to happen, not in the context of violence, okay? But we have here the same thing that these people always do, right? They hold themselves to a different standard than Trump. Trump is held to the highest of standards, okay? In which if Trump comes out here and talks about a bloodbath, even clearly and obviously when he's talking about it in the context of the economy and the context of his speech, he was talking about how Biden's economic policies when it comes to pushing the climate change agenda is to the benefit of China and that there's going to be an economic bloodbath if we continue to allow this agenda to push electric vehicles that could hurt, the auto workers here in the United States of America. Now, instead of engaging in the substance of what Trump was actually saying, again, the mainstream liberal media took the opportunity to do fake fear-mongering about Trump's bloodbath comment. Again, a phrase that they use quite a bit, okay? And the mainstream liberal media has been getting roasted for this because this is one of the most egregious attempts to try to take Trump's comments out of context and to spin it into something that it is not. It is, in fact, laughable. And for the most part, people have been roasting the mainstream liberal media for doing this because they essentially are doing it like the NPCs that they are because they are state-sponsored media.
That language, they live like vermin. Do you believe that that is, as your Republican colleague Chris Christie has said, neo-Nazi rhetoric?
This is a classic mainstream media move. Pick some individual phrase of Donald Trump, focus on literally that word without actually interrogating the substance of what's at issue.
The word was chosen for a reason.
We are in the middle of a cultural war in this country.
The word was chosen for a reason.
It's actually describing a series of behaviors. You have Antifa and other related groups that have been burning down cities for the last 3 years in this country.
Would you describe them as vermin?
Wildly violating the rule of law. We have an invasion on our southern border. We have millions of people crossing our southern border. Let's talk about the substance of why we have to recognize that we're not in ordinary times.
Would you use that language yourself?
The vocabulary of the vermin or not is not what's important. And yet we're here sitting talking not about the substance of that, but on one word that Donald Trump said in some speech in Miami. This is what's wrong with the mainstream mainstream media. Focus on the substance and let's have an actual policy debate rather than talking to a presidential candidate instead of the policy substance of what's actually going on in the country, picking on some word that Donald Trump said on a certain day and asking me for comment on it. Give me a break.
And some of the mainstream liberal media propagandists, like, for example, Joe Scarborough, he noticed the backlash he was getting on X when he posted about Trump's comments. He actually deleted the post when he got ratioed by Elon Musk. And then he took to MSNBC this morning to have a full-blown meltdown over the backlash that he was getting for his fake outrage over Trump's comment. Take a look.
Obviously, he's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday shows going, well, presidents, you know, he was talking only about the auto industry and this is one more. It's just bullshit. Let me say that at 6:15 a.m. It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath. Sometimes a bloodbath means a bloodbath. And when he finishes by saying, and that's just going to be the least of it, seriously, these people may be stupid. We're not.
But what happened then was there was a snowball effect on cable news and particularly on social media. Voices in the right wing, including some very prominent voices on the right wing, really pushed back against this, claiming the media was taking out of context, that we were biased against Trump, that we were misconstruing what he said, et cetera, et cetera.
But that is what you did, right? You did take it out of context. And considering the fact that bloodbath, colloquially speaking, has been used to describe a major economic disaster as defined here by Merriam-Webster. I mean, quite literally, they have the definition of bloodbath. One of the definitions is a major economic disaster, considering the fact that Trump was using this term when talking about the economy. Again, you are taking it out of context. You are quite literally making it something that is not. But again, when the liberal media uses the term bloodbath, it's totally fine. It's totally okay. Nobody ever takes it out of context, because if you was to say that the mainstream liberal media was calling for violence when they use the term bloodbath, you would look stupid, right? You would look dumb. Okay, a lot of people would question your understanding of the English language, right? But again, the mainstream liberal media is a joke, and it's a joke that continues to write itself, okay? As we got to talk about Jim Acosta, because even when confronted directly about how, I don't think that these comments actually meant political violence, he's going to essentially do mental gymnastics in order to justify the narrative that the mainstream liberal media wants to push, okay? He's going to become visibly triggered and stunned by the fact that you have somebody on his network defending Trump's comments and saying that, well, I think you guys are taking this out of context. So without further ado, let's get into it.
And Alice, the Trump campaign was this is what the Biden campaign said in response to all of this. They said he wants another January 6th. The Trump campaign refuted that, said he was just talking about the auto industry and so on. They're crying foul over how this has been covered. But if you look at, Alice, if you look at the way he said this, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. Then he stops. That's going to be the least of it. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
And if you look at it in context also.
Well, I think what he was trying to say is that it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole auto industry, right? But I think what he was trying to extend it to is the fact that, well, if it's a bloodbath for the auto industry, for the economy, then yeah, that's going to affect the country as a whole. Again, that is a reasonable person's interpretation of what he was trying to say. But because Jim Acosta is not reasonable, he's a propagandist, he's trying to twist this into the worst thing possible, and it just looks ridiculous.
So where it says, talking about the auto industry and a 100% tariff on every car that's brought into this country, he's talking about the auto industry and the impact the Biden policies have on the auto industry.
You
and
don't
when
think he just meant the auto industry?
I believe
You
when
don't
he
think-
uses the term bloodbath, he is talking about this in an economic sense. And you look at the word bloodbath.
But he says
when
that's going to be the least of it.
Bloodbath means
it's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
We're talking.
Well, again, Jim, if you have an economic disaster in one sector of the economy, that can affect the country as a whole. Again, I don't know why is it that Jim Acosta can't comprehend this very simple concept, because let's just say, for example, there's a bloodbath in the housing market, which is what happened 2007, 2008. Guess what? That affected the economy as a whole. Okay, the whole country went into a recession because one sector of the economy failed. Again, this is not a hard concept, right? This is a very simple, easy thing to grasp, right? But again, you know, this is what happens when your brain is stuck on propaganda, right? You don't really believe that. You can't believe that he was just talking about the auto industry and that he wasn't calling for violence. And these people should be embarrassed. This is humiliating, right? This is humiliating. It really is.
Talking about the other definition of bloodbath is a severe loss and reversal. And this is used all of the time when we're talking about the stock market and the economy. And he's talking, look, I think this is a tremendous disservice to people.
I love you, Alice, but I mean...
And I love you too, Jim, but I think this is...
Let me tell you, I really think, because, you know, was it out of context when you said very fine people on both sides?
Yes, quite literally, it was out of context, right? And that's been debunked over and over and over again. Yes, it was out of context.
Out of context when he said we got to fight like hell, you won't have a country anymore?
That was out of context, right? It was out of context.
Marie, was it out of context when he said stand back and stand by?
Yeah, that actually was out of context as well, too. Again, it's amazing. All these things, these talking points that this guy is like, was this out of context when he said this, when he said that? Yeah, actually, you're right. They actually were out of context. And again, this is why Trump is getting stronger, because people are seeing that this is what you guys do every single time. Okay, when you do stuff like this over and over and over again, eventually people get hip to the game and they start to see, wait. You guys do this so much that it's becoming ridiculous now, right? You did it with all those comments that Jim Acosta just brought up, and now you're doing it again. So people are now saying, okay, you guys are just deranged, right? This is just Trump derangement. These are not legitimate criticisms. Again, the conversation really should have been around. If the mainstream liberal media was smart, they should have actually really just talked about whether or not Trump's policy proposal is appropriate for the issue that he's talking about, which is the 100% tariff. If they were smart and they actually really wanted to have a real conversation, a substantive conversation about Trump's comments, that's what they actually should have been talking about. But again, they're too dumb. They're too dumb to really understand the real criticism that you can have of the things that Trump says, because they're so stuck on the nonsense, okay, the dumb things, instead of talking about the actual substance. If they would have stuck to a conversation about substance, this would be a much different conversation we'd be having, right? It'd be a real debate about, okay, well, does that make sense to have 100% tariff on cars imported from Mexico that are made by Chinese companies? Now, again, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying that would have been an interesting debate. That would have been a legitimate debate, right? But again, the mainstream media, they're not sophisticated enough. And again, they're too stupid and stuck on Trump derangement in order for them to actually really have a real conversation about Trump's policy proposals, which would have been the legit conversation to have.
To finish what I'm saying.
Sure.
This is taken out of context. He's talking about the auto industry. He's talking about the electric vehicle mandates that the Biden administration is supporting and how that is going to devastate the auto industry. And he's basically sending the message to people across middle America, the United Auto Workers, the actual workers, not the head, but the workers realize the devastating...
Let's play this. What about when he called migrants animals? Let's watch that.
If I had prisons that were teeming with MS-13 and all sorts of people that they've got to take care of for the next 50 years, right? Young people, they're in jail for years, if you call them people. I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion. These are bad. These are animals.
Again, so clearly and obviously, here we go. Same thing again. Same thing again, right? This is the exact same thing they did with the poison the blood comments. Trump is talking about illegal immigrants. Not only is he talking about illegal immigrants, but he's talking about MS-13, gangs, prisoners, okay, criminals, okay, that come to the United States with the intention of committing crimes. Now, Jim Acosta is going to defend MS-13. He's going to defend criminals. He's going to defend gangs and say, oh, no, they're just migrants. Trump is calling migrants animals. This is comedy. Right? This is the only reason why I ever watch any segment of CNN. It's comedy, right? This is not real news, right? This is a comedy show. Straight up, it's like a skit. It really is. You can't make this up. You can't make it up.
Maria, I mean, I hear what Alice is saying, and you know, we have fiery discussions sometimes, and we all respect each other at the end of the day. But to me, it's really a stretch to say, well, these things are out of context, or it's just rhetoric, and so this is just it's so.
Well, I mean, it quite literally is out of context when you say that Trump is claiming that migrants, or all migrants, or trying to imply that he says that all migrants are poisoning the blood of this country when he's talking about criminals, right? I mean, at this point, they're just flat out defending criminals, right? As you see the headline here. Trump calls migrants that commit crimes animals, as if that's a bad thing. These people get more offended by calling illegal immigrants that commit crimes mean names than they get offended by their colleagues in the mainstream liberal media that call MAGA mean names, right? When you call MAGA Nazis, white supremacists, Klansmen, they have no issues with that, right? They're totally fine with that. They're totally okay with that, okay? But let you say anything mean about an illegal immigrant, these people are losing their minds. Fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating.
Dangerous.
It is.
And it seems to be encouraging violence. And when you dehumanize migrants,
yes,
calling them animals.
That's exactly right, Jim.
It's dangerous.
And
wow, incredible stuff, right? Incredible stuff. Again, you're dehumanizing illegal immigrants that commit crimes. This is what this guy is worried about on CNN. This is why the mainstream liberal media is a joke. This is why Trump's poll numbers continue to go up. I'm so serious. They're not helping themselves. At this point, I think that they want Trump to win. And from a capitalistic perspective, I understand why. That's my only explanation at this point. They are doing this because they know it's going to help Trump. It has to be. There is no other explanation. Why would you do this? Why would you run with this stupid narrative, this fake outrage about comments clearly taken out of context that, again, even the average person, right? Even somebody like Stephen A. Smith, he came out and said, you're taking this out of context, right? Like this is not what you're saying that it is. And this guy is severely Trump deranged, right? Even somebody like him can see, oh, you guys this is fake. You're not helping your case. I think they want Trump to win at this point. If Trump got back in the White House, these people's careers would be revived in the sense that they'd actually get viewership because Trump will be in the White House, right? These mainstream liberal media outlets did the best. They did their best. They broke records when Trump was in the White House. And ever since Trump left, they've struggled ever since, especially CNN. So at this point, my only explanation for why they continue to give Trump this boost, right, is that they want him to win. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't have any other explanation why. You can't be this stupid. You can't be this dumb. These people have Ivy League degrees. I don't understand. How can you be this dumb, this dense, this Trump deranged? But hey, I encourage them to keep doing it. Keep doing it, right? Keep doing it. It's working perfectly, right? It's working for people like me that want to see Trump win. For them, they claim that they don't want to see Trump win, and that it's the worst thing ever. It's going to be the end of democracy, but given how they continue to cover Trump, I really can't tell if they actually really believe that. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.